Hi, Misha here, and it's here. I said last time I was taking a little break, rest, get some new things in, mostly just rest. But the Hobby Master MiG-31 came in this past week, and I had to at least show it off and talk about it for a minute. This is one that I've been very eagerly awaiting. Probably the most excited I've been for a Hobby Master in quite some time. I was going to say since it maybe as long since they announced the MiG-29, but that's not true. I had, JC Wings MiG-29, and while I think Hobby Masters is nicer, at least I had a MiG-29 of some type in 172 scale diecast. But MiG-31, nope. This is kind of the first. So, sorry, there's boxes behind me. Let's talk about it. At least informally, pretty quickly. This is the MiG-31K variant. And it's the first release in the series. They're going to do the more standard MiG-31BM. It's supposed to come out in July. I've noticed with Hobby Master, the first release in a new tooling tends to be a little special, a little unique from later versions. So this is a large aircraft, even in 172. And because it is die-cast, and it's almost entirely all really metal, it's not light. And you might notice it comes with a different style of stand. Now, we've seen this type of Hobby Master stand before, but typically they have to be purchased aftermarket. This is the first I've had come in with this style of plug-in stem stand from the factory. So I'm curious if future models going forward will all have it, or if it's just special for this one. If this looks similar to the MiG-25 Foxbat, that's because it is. The MiG-31 Foxhound kind of started off as the Super Foxbat. The West first learned about it with the defection in 1976. At least it was in planning at the time, and actually the very first prototype would fly late that year. It would be approved for production in 79 and go into Russian Air Defense Service, PVO, 1981 to 1983, and would be produced in 3 production blocks up through 1994, building 519 examples, in several types and variants. All basically the same airframe, just different electronics and what have you. It's very similar in size to the 25. Overall length is a little over 74 feet. Wingspan is a little over 44 feet. And it's even heavier than the 25, which is already a heavy plane. It has 2 engines. But unlike the 25, which was a single-seater, it has a cockpit for 2. A pilot, and then a weapons system officer in the back who manage the radar and, the weapons. It could carry 2 drop tanks to give it better range, and also it was capable of aerial refueling. And like the 25, it was made out of nickel steel, with some titanium, aluminum, and some composite thrown in for good measure. Still very heavy, though. Performance-wise, it kind of took the MiG-25, but just tweaked it in lots of little ways. At altitude, it was capable of about Mach 2.8 safely. Had a cruise speed between Mach 2.3 and 2.4, but really where it trumped the MiG-25 at low altitude, sea level, and just above, it could still go supersonic, about Mach 1.2 to 1.3, depending on which source you ask, and exactly when and where. Whereas the 25, didn't do very well. Now, while it had better maneuverability than the 25, the 31 still wasn't great at maneuverability, because this was a strategic interceptor. In fact, it was meant to intercept spy planes like the SR-71 or incoming cruise missiles, and to control a quite large chunk of airspace. So it wasn't a dogfighter per se, but it could carry up to 20,000 pounds in ordnance. We'll get to that in just a minute, though. What really made it special, the electronics. It was Russia's first shoot down, at least real one, capable airplane. It had an ESA radar system, quite advanced for the day and time. And it had very good networking capabilities, which only got improved with later versions and variants. Interestingly, it was only operated by the Soviet Union, later the Russian Air Force and the Kazakh Air Force. There were rumors that some were sent to Syria. Russia refutes these. Take it as you will. So really, low altitude performance. It also had really good climb to intercept spy aircraft, per se. And that was really what did it. It also, at least initially, had a 23mm revolving barrel cannon, although some versions would later not have this. In a lot of ways, it was a record setter in the late 70s, early 80s, and still holds a pretty unique place in aviation history to this very day. And it has seen combat use over Syria, and of course in the more recent war in Ukraine. In fact, this has proven to be one of the most deadly aircraft that Russia fields there, because Ukraine just doesn't have anything that can really go up against it. And of course, newer versions are multi-role with not just air-to-air, but air-to-surface and air-to-ship capabilities. In fact, some can even launch anti-radiation, so basically wild weasel type missions, missiles. So let's talk about this Hobbymaster here. Looking at the top, like I said, it's mostly metal. Pretty standard Hobbymaster features. Opening, closing canopy. Well, you get 2 interchangeable canopy sets. Here's the accessory set. You also get gear up or down plug-in modules. Pretty standard. But what makes this variant in this first release unique is really the ordnance loadout. So let's take it off the stand and look underneath. So here's our stand. It is the kind of new styling. And at first I was worried about plugging something this heavy in, but luckily it does have good large engine exhaust ports here, and they do have a bit of a step in them, which corresponds well with the stand here, and seems to be holding. Luckily we just have 2, and we do have a nice wide base. So flipping this over, the standard B variant and the newer BS and BMs would normally have 2 hard points under each wing and 4 semi-recessed hard points, kind of a la Tomcat, under the fuselage. For anti-air long range, these would use the R-33E. Someone would use the R-40. They would also have medium-range missiles and short-range missiles for defense, like the R-60. They could also use the R-73, newer versions, the R-77. and the more modernized ground attack capable versions could, like I said, have anti-shipping, anti-radiation missiles like the KH-58. You get the idea. No internal bomb bay, but up to 20,000 pounds on 4 hardpoints. But you'll notice this one doesn't really have missiles. Well, except for one. The K variant is a specialty variant. As far as I know, only about 10 have been created so far, but there are plans to have at least 30 in service. And this carries the KH-47M2 hypersonic cruise missile. And yeah, that makes it kind of unique. Now, this missile could be tipped with a nuclear warhead, 5 to 50 kilotons. Although in practice, we've seen them used with standard high explosive warheads. And it actually has a solid rocket motor, pretty traditional for best speeds. And this is not a small creature. It's about 9,500 pounds and about 23.5 feet long. Yeah, which kind of explains why it only carries one. Not only is there not room for air-to-air missiles, they actually remove the hardware and equipment to even target with them. So yeah, this is a dedicated jobber here. But it is an incredibly fast missile, 10 to 13 Mach, and even according to the US is pretty much unstoppable, at least by current technology and standards. So a plane originally created to actually intercept cruise missiles can now launch one. And this is actually based, this missile variant, on a land version as well. The only other aircraft that Russia has that can use this is actually the much larger Tu-222 Tupolev bomber. And it has a pretty good range of about 1,200 miles, at least from the MiG-31K. The Tupolev can give it a little longer range, but still yet not bad. And that combines well with its very advanced radar systems. And the newer versions switch out their cathode ray CTR cockpit displays for liquid crystal and all that good stuff. And again, if these do need more range, they can be refueled in the air. So yeah, I think it's kind of neat that the first version is a specialty version, and we don't get a lot of cruise missiles in the Hobbymaster line. So I think it'll stand out as something pretty unique. Well done. It plugs into a centerline hardpoint. And it's actually really good we get this stand, because if we had to use the old-fashioned centerline stand, we wouldn't be able to display it with a missile hanging down, unless we wanted to do gear down and in the landing position. So I'm not at all disappointed in this aircraft. Again, it's very well made. Metal, plastic, metal out to the nose tip at least. If I had only one little gripe, the canopies fit a little wonky, but I think I can, time and everything, they're just a little tight and a little bit cocked, but nothing bad. The pilots went in easy, and the landing gear covers all popped on easily. And it's just neat to see something kind of rare. And this just isn't a laboratory aircraft. We've seen the 31K used several times during the Ukraine war in the past year. And It has proven to be a devastatingly deadly and effective weapons delivery platform. But because of its configuration, this is a dedicated strike aircraft now. It loses its anti-air capability, but Russia still operates 100 standard 31s or 31 BMs. They're in the process of upgrading that fleet as well. So, good on Hobby Master. I'm definitely going to pick up the BM when it comes out in July, and then I'll probably do a full video and a full comparison with this and the Foxbat, its predecessor. It is its own aircraft. Don't think otherwise, but the 25 lines are definitely there. But like I said, mostly I'm just relaxing for a minute, but wanted to show this off to you since it just came in. A little unexpected, if I'm being honest, but it was a very pleasant surprise the other day. So what do you think? Are you a fan of MiGs as well? And if so, do you like the look of the 31 or do you like the old 25? Let me know in the comments. This is Misha. Catch you very soon. Next time. Also, Foxhound is a really cool NATO code name.